guys, second insight for this week. So we're in section 46. I gave the history of the whole thing in the first one, so go watch that if you want to know the history of all of this. So we're going to skip over to verse 9, but before we do that, I just want to point out that verse 8 is really, really good. So is verse 7 actually. Oh, so good. So read verse 7, but verse 8, I'm going to read it. It says, "Wherefore be we, lest ye are deceived, that ye may not be deceived. Seek thee earnestly the best gifts, always remembering for what they are given." And that's a really important lesson because we're about to talk about spiritual gifts. So remember why they're given and seek them. So if you don't have them, seek them because they're available to all of us. If you want that spiritual gift, if you desire that spiritual gift, go seek it. But we're going to look at verse 9. So, verse 9 says, "For verily I say unto you, they are given for the benefit of those who love me and keep all my commandments. And him that seeketh so to do, that all may be benefited that seek or that ask of me, that ask and not for a sign, that they may consume it upon their lusts." So the last part there is some people ask for spiritual gifts for signs, and we don't do that. Spiritual gifts are given for the benefit of those who love me. So spiritual gifts are many, and they're for sharing. And think of it as like having a big banquet feast and it's potluck. You got to bring a dish and you're going to bring it to the table. And everyone brings dessert. It's delicious, but not quite the meal you anticipated because you're really looking forward to, like some nachos or a pulled pork maybe, because that goes really good before you have your cheesecake, right? You need both. You need a nice drink. What if nobody bought any cutlery or a tablecloth or a cup to drink out of? Everyone needs to bring something to the table, and we all do. The list of spiritual gifts is vast. Many think that they have none or that they cannot obtain these things or contain more of them. That I got this one, that's all I've got, that's it. You can obtain all of them. Seek the best gifts. They're available to everyone. Some naturally come, some are by calling, some because we desired them, and some because at that time of our life we needed it. So there's many different reasons why we will have certain gifts at certain times. Some of them will have all our lifetime, some of them we cultivate slowly, some of them are just like there. It is. But all of these though are for sharing because together we cover all of them and we need them as a group. So I'm going to read from this book because yes, I love Don't Miss This. But this is David Butler talking, and he just the end of his one like little comment on this section, specifically this verse. He said, "Yes, all of the spiritual gifts are given for benefit, but spiritual gifts are always brought by people. People are the conduits. Everyone is needed so that everyone can benefit. One of the ways the Lord can show his love to us is by sending spiritually gifted people into our lives. What a shame if we excluded them for any reason." And that goes back to the first one when I said everyone's welcome at church. Everyone is welcome. So what a shame if you excluded those people that had the spiritual gift that you needed. Because maybe you needed someone to bless your life and they were that person, but you excluded them because they didn't fit your mold or your ideal of who should be at church. See how it fits in? So thank you, David Butler, for that insight. Wonderful. Put that back here. So spiritual gifts are many and they're for sharing. It's all together. And one of the good scriptures, actually, and we're going to look at this in the next one, is in 1 Corinthians 12. But it's interesting, like this is Paul talking to the Corinthians, obviously, but he's like, what if the whole body were an eye? What if we're all just eyes? Who's going to hear anything? Who's going to taste anything? Who's going to smell anything? Who's going to walk? Who's going to use their hand? We're all eyes. It's not going to work. So it's a really good way of looking at it. So apart from being totally scary if we're all just big eyeballs, kind of wouldn't work, right? So you need everything. Because he was likening the church to a body. So we need every little part. They all have a purpose, every little piece. But we're going to cover that. I'll put that over there. And number 3. So hang on for that one. But Sister Sharon Eubank, who I love, she's an amazing, amazing woman and very much about inclusion and unity and just awesomeness. Um, she said, innovation and creation are spiritual gifts. We can think of different solutions, different approaches, and different applications. And that's so true. And that's the way her mind thinks. And that, you know, we don't all have to be the same, and it would be incredibly boring and dull and wrong if we were, because we all think of different ways. When I was primary president some years ago, I had a set way. I'm like, yep, this is going to work. It's going to do it. And it took maybe probably about 2 or 3 months before my first councillor spoke up and said, I kind of want to do it a different way. I'm like, yeah, totally. Because I've got a very strong personality. I know this, and it's not always correct. But, what I had in my head would have worked, but she had a better idea. And it took her a while to sort of speak up and do that, because it was her first time serving on a presidency. And she was learning. And I'm so grateful that she did, because her idea was amazing. She saw it from a completely different angle that I did not see, because I do not have those skills that she does. And that is why we all need to work together, and we all bring something to that table. And with both of us working on that, with our other councillor and our secretary, it was awesome. Had the most amazing activity, and she had some really great ideas for what she wanted to do there. And it was great, and it was good to see her growth and then other people's growth, as we went through that, and my growth too. I learned how to work better with others, because I really don't do well at that. That is not a strong suit of mine. So we all have these gifts. Work together. Because, different solutions, different approaches, and different applications. And it's amazing when it works like that. And you see that in our first presidency. You probably see that in your bishopric. Hopefully you see that in your bishopric. You'll see it in your Relief Society. Probably you've seen it where you've been working too, maybe a ward council or wherever you've been working. Even in a work environment, you need people with different skill sets and different ideas and different points of view, because it makes a more holistic approach, a better approach, a well-rounded approach that just works. And you know when it works, because it's humming and it's good. And I hope you've experienced that. And if not, really try and widen that circle of people so that you can get that approach to different things. It's even good when you're asking advice, because there's just plenty of people that have so much different experience, right? Anyway, I rambled on long enough about that one. We're going to go to insight number 3. See you there.